we actually super poly during the battle phase, use both of their monsters to summon Yugioh for just enough damage to win the game this turn.
Hey guys, this is Remia, and this week we are bringing back the Lair Critias deck. I did end up adding in Lord of the Heavenly Prison, as many of you suggested, and it is a very good card. It works out really well for the deck. And this time I ended up pulling out the Artifact Engine with Sanctum and Scythe. They are very good cards if you want to play them, but I wanted to try a few more budget options because 5 ultra rares is a lot to ask for in a deck that already has way too many ultra rares in it. So I know you don't look at this deck and think, wow, that's a great budget deck. But we at least tried to trim some of the ultra rares, so you know, we're giving it a shot. I will put a written deck list down in the description, as well as going over the deck in more detail, of course, at the end of the video. But really quick, if you do like these videos, please leave a like and subscribe. You can always change your mind later, and it really helps out the channel. But without further ado, let's jump into the games.
Alright. Lair of Darkness on the play. And we have a pretty good start. So we set 3 and activate Lord of the Heavenly Prison, and it gets gammed. So, mediocre start, actually. So that's okay. What I could have done is summon Tour Guides, summoned a negated Lilith, and that would have 2000 attack, and then that would make my deck Devastation Virus live. But I chose not to do that. I don't know. It would have been really good if we were up against Flu. That's kind of why I put this in the deck, so we could try to counter the Flu menace. But anyway, we find out we're up against Gizmek Orochi Pile. If you don't know, Gizmek Orochi can basically just bring itself back from the graveyard repeatedly by banishing cards off the top of your deck. And our Eldritch Tech card to try to banish Eldritch actually comes in handy here too, because Orochi is a level 5 or higher effect monster. We can banish it, and then it won't be able to bring itself back when it is banished. So that's pretty cool. And they're just going to go for their Draglubion play, and they summon out their Bigfoot. Draglubion goes for Numeron Dragon, and I let them go to battle phase before I activate my Trap Trick, and I bring out a Mirror Force, which is pretty funny. So he swings in, he knows he's going to get hit by the Mirror Force, but the Astral Karibo here is actually protecting his Draglubion from being destroyed by card effects. Of course, the Draglubion can't attack the turn it summons a monster this way. So we still haven't taken damage, and we have a Tour Guide still in our hand because we didn't play it last turn, and we just drew Crush card. So we summon Tour Guide, it gets ashed, which is, you know, fine. We can't really do anything. So we set Crush card, and they activate Thunderbird. So Thunderbird, basically if it is discarded, it could destroy one of our 2 trap cards. So in response, I just go ahead and activate my Crush Card Virus, because I can tribute the Tour Guide and then destroy at least the Thunderbird, so the Thunderbird's ability doesn't work anymore. And we actually destroy both of the cards in their hand. And they choose to destroy a few more cards from their deck with the Crush Card Virus. That is a downside. I think that was the errated version of Crush Card Virus. But it lets them destroy up to 3 monsters with 1500 or more attack from their deck. And they choose 2 more Orochis. So the Crush card kind of backfires on us, and they get rid of their own Lancia for whatever reason. They only have 21 cards left in their deck, and that does actually matter because the Orochis are going to banish cards from off the top. So the Thunderbird resolves and does nothing because it's destroyed instead. And they bring back their Gizmek Orochi, and they summon out a Hope Harbinger. And because Draglubion did its thing, only Hope Harbinger can swing in, so we're only going to take 3000 damage. So that's also pretty good for us. Alright. And we draw a card, and we top deck another Tour Guide. Oh my goodness, that's so good. That's pretty much the exact card that we needed to draw. And we had 2 out of 31. So, you know, we get lucky sometimes, I guess. So we are going to Tour Guide. We're going to summon out Scarm and then link up to Verte. Now, Verte is going to make their Hope Harbinger Dark attribute, because Draglubion is also dark attribute, which I didn't actually realize at the time, but Draglubion is dark. So I have a couple options. We could go for Tri-Fi over Erdem and use all 3 of their monsters to summon up to Tri-Fi. Now, they do have the other Gizmek in their graveyard, and this one, of course, would be in their graveyard, so they would be able to bring it back in defense mode and not take any damage. Not that they could take any damage anyway, because the Crush card is protecting them from taking damage for this turn. But I actually choose to go Starving Venom in a really interesting play. Okay, so I'm going to use their Hope Harbinger and the Draglubion as material for Starving Venom. So we send Super Poly, fuse up to Starving Venom. Starving Venom's going to gain 2450, and you probably know the 2 big effects for Starving Venom. The first one, gaining attack equal to one of your opponent's special summon monsters, and the last one being if it is destroyed, you basically get to destroy all of your opponent's monsters. However, Starving Venom also has a neat little trick where once per turn, you can target an enemy level 5 or higher monster, and it gains that monster's effects until end of turn. So we actually target their Orochi and then become an Orochi, so we could banish cards from our extra deck, destroy their Orochi, and then also swing in to destroy the Orochi they would summon back from their graveyard. And they only have 13 cards left. So they would enter their next turn with 1 card in hand and very few cards in their deck, so they wouldn't be able to bring back an Orochi again for the rest of the duel, and they actually just scoop it up in response. Oh my goodness, it's so good. Starving Venom! Starving Venom's secondary ability actually came in handy. Let's go. Lair of Darkness on the draw, and our opponent plays 1 and passes. It's very curious. So I also set a few cards and activate our Lord of the Heavenly Prison and pass, and they just pass their turn. So what I'm going to do is activate Trap Trick and set a Crush card because we have Fang of Critias in our hand, so we can go for our Doom Virus play on the following turn. And because we activated Trap, we can activate Heavenly Prison and then set a Lair of Darkness from my deck. What this should be, this is one of my first times actually like resolving it this way, but it should have been Terraforming. That way you can use Terraforming to search Lair of Darkness, and then your field spell won't be banished at the end of the next turn, because I forgot that Heavenly Prison had that restriction. But that's okay. And I go ahead and activate Eradicator at the end of the turn. So we tribute the Lord of the Heavenly Prison we just summoned, and I'll see if I can get the timing right. Oh, nice. Okay. So we pick Trap, obviously, because we're going to destroy their face down. And we find out we're up against a Dragonmaid deck with one of my favorite emo rabbits, Knight's End Sorcerer. Haven't seen this card in a while, but you know, maybe we'll put it in a deck and try to make something out of it. But we're up against Dragonmaids with some Tenyi stuff, apparently. But the more important thing is we activated Eradicator and destroyed their Dragonmaid Tidying. So, and we know what we're playing against, which is really good. So, of course, we're going to play our Fang of Critias. They max C, which is fine. We're going to summon our Doom Virus Dragon. And all of the cards they draw off max C counts toward being checked off of Doom Virus and our Eradicator, which is really, really good. So they're going to activate some Dragonmaid stuff, which is fine. And we're going to destroy a bunch of their cards. And we don't really care about their Dragonmaid stuff resolving. So we have Lilith, and we are going to use Lilith. Of course, the Lilith is negated, but we wanted to get rid of their Dragonmaid card. So now we can go ahead and swing in. They're going to activate that, which is fine, I guess. It doesn't really matter. And then we actually realize that they did their full Dragonmaid combo and brought out 2 of the big versions of the Dragonmaids. We have a set Super Poly, and what I ended up doing with this deck, because the extra deck doesn't really matter, I decided to fill it up with a ton of random fusion monsters, one of which is Dragonmaid Yugioh. So because they did this, we actually can swing to win the game, when we otherwise would have just dealt a bunch of damage and passed turn, and then they would have been able to do things. But we actually super poly during the battle phase, use both of their monsters to summon Yugioh for just enough damage to win the game this turn. Oh, the extract plan worked. The extract plan worked. Let's go.
Lair Critias, going first with a pretty terrible start. We set our Deep Dark Trap Hole and then activate our Lord of the Heavenly Prison. So they go Extravagance, and we're playing against some kind of Timelord Burn deck. So they go Mikaon, they attack and halve our life points, so we're down to 4k, but we are still alive. And they set 3 cards. So we draw another copy of Lord of the Heavenly Prison, which is pretty funny. We activate the one on the left, and we Foolish a Diabolos, activate Lair, and then summon our Ahrima. And in response, they summon Zoma the Spirit, which I have not seen in a hot minute, but that's okay. We are going to tribute our Ahrima because we have Diabolos in the graveyard. We can bring it back. And we just get to tribute their Mikaon. He is immune to destruction by battle and card effect, but we can just tribute him. And also Diabolos is going to make our opponent put one of these cards in their hand back on top or bottom. So that's pretty cool. We set a deck Devastation and summon 2 of our tokens. I did not want to attack here. So Time Lords are a burn deck, right? They're liable to play cards like Magic Cylinder, Dimension Wall or something. I don't remember what it's called. Basically stuff that would burn us out of the game. And I can't really afford to take 3,000 damage. I'm already at 4,000. And they activate Ring of Destruction at the end of our turn. They probably thought that they could destroy our Diabolos with it, but they can't because Diabolos cannot be targeted and it cannot be tributed. So they just end up killing our token, and we both take 1,000 damage. And our opponent activates yet another Extravagance. They have no cards in their extra deck. And they bring out a Sandayon. No, they bring out Raphayon. That's right. He basically deals burn damage equal to the attack of one of our monsters that would kill us, but we have Deep Dark Trap Hole, and he is level 5 or higher, so we just get to banish him in response to the summon, which is pretty cool. And I use the wrong Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Like, in the replay, it's very clear that I activated this one on the left, right? But while I was playing, it was really hard to know which one to summon. And I ended up picking the wrong one. Maybe having like a glossy or prismatic version would have helped me there because I have 2 in the deck and one would be glossy and one would not be. But I do not have that luxury, and you probably don't either. So anyway, we end up summoning the wrong Lord of the Heavenly Prison, and because of that, we cannot set a card. So, oh well. And then they swing in with Zoma the Spirit, probably trying to do some burn damage shenanigans. And in response to that, we are just going to tribute our Diabolos to deck Devastation to see what's in their hand. And we find out they had a Raphayon and a Mahama. Those both get destroyed. And we know now that they have a Magic Cylinder, so maybe we did make the right decision. I don't know what this face down card is. And they have a Nibiru. But Nibiru doesn't really matter to this deck because we don't summon 5 times, right? So we have to give them a token because we tributed a monster on their turn. And we have Trap Trick. We activate our Lord again. And they find a Sandayon. And during their main phase, we're just going to go ahead and set an Eradicator because we know that these are traps. One of them is Magic Cylinder, is this guy. So we want to just destroy those, as well as the Zoma, because he is still a trap card. So we activate our Lord and set a Prosperity just because I feel like that's going to help me find the right cards in order to win the game. We go ahead and activate Eradicator, calling Trap card, and we find out that it is
Magic Cylinder, and Dimension Wall, so go figure. We definitely would have died if we swung in with our Diabolos earlier. And because we tributed a monster we control, we can bring back our Diabolos, and we give him a token. Now we have 2 viruses going, which is always fun to see. At least fun for us. And we draw a Scarm, but that doesn't really matter. We have Pot of Prosperity. And we're just cementing our game plan here. We don't think they can come back from anything. All of their traps are also going to get destroyed. So we go ahead and tribute 1. We swing in. Maybe I shouldn't have gone Prosperity because they do live, but, you know, it's fine. Now we have a quick effect tribute. So when they do summon their Sandion, I can just tribute it in response. And then I get to search for a Crush card, just in case, and they scoop it up. GG's. Lair of Darkness, going first here. Kind of an awkward start. So we activate Lair, we're going to activate Ahrima. You might think that's odd because if we tribute Ahrima, then we can't search anything, we just get a card draw. But it does give us a token at the end of our turn, which means this token is 1,000 attack, and if we need to, we can activate Crush card tributing the token. We wouldn't be able to do that with Ahrima on board. So we pass turn. And we're up against Galaxy Eyes. So in response, we just tribute the token, play Crush card, and Galaxy, almost all of their monsters have 2,000 or more attack, right? That's kind of the gimmick of the deck. So Crush card is pretty devastating to them. And we flip their hand. They have an Ash, 2 spells, and we destroyed 2 Afterglow and a Galaxy Soldier. And then off the Crush card, they have the opportunity to destroy 3 monsters in their deck. So they pick Vanisher, Knight, and Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. And they just have to pass turn because they don't really have much to do. We do know that they have an Ash, so of course this is gonna get ashed, but we have to get it out of their hands somehow, right? So we swing in, and we just pass. We get a token because we did tribute their monster. And they didn't draw anything off the top. And we drew Trap Trick, which is pretty good. So we are just gonna swing in here. We're going to tribute and search our Lord of the Heavenly Prison, set Trap Trick, and activate our Heavenly Prison, so our trap cards are protected. They go Galaxy 0, bring back their Photon Dragon, and we just play Deep Dark and banish it right away. And then we can go Lord and set our Fang of Critias. But we have enough damage on board, so I don't really want to draw the game out. I don't really like doing that to people. So we're just going to switch into attack mode and go attacking to swing in to win the game. So, GG's. Love Galaxy Eyes. Well, that was the video. I really enjoy this deck. Lair Critias is so much fun. So let's go over the deck really quickly. You don't need to play Deep Dark Trap Hole. I was just messing around with some more budget options. If you have Called by the Grave, probably play those. If you did have the Artifact Engine with Scythe and Sanctum, that's also a really good choice. You could just pull out these 3 copies of Deep Dark, as well as the 2 Deck Devastation Virus. I think Deck Devastation is good, but the main deck we're using it to try to hit on is Flu. And you can shut down their combo, but they also just kind of bring all their birds back, and the virus only works the one time unless they're drawing into more cards. So I didn't find Deck Devastation to be as useful as I really wanted it to be, but it is still an option if you want to go into it. Another option I found after I had finished recording all of these games was Dogmatica Punishment and Elder Entity Nts. Punishment is really good. It's searchable off of Trap Trick and Lilith, and can basically destroy 2 things kind of for free, with the only downside being you can't go into Verte on your next turn. Some more options. If you do have Imperm, you could definitely play Imperm. I've been messing around with only 2 copies of Crush Card and Eradicator, and then going up to 2 or 3 copies of Imperm I think is really strong. It's also searchable and gives the deck some much needed interaction if you are stuck going second. So if you did want to change the deck around a little bit, it would look something like this.
You still have your viruses, Crush Card, and Eradicator at 2, because you can search them with Trap Trick as well as Lair and Lilith. But then you also have 3 copies of Imperm, because the deck doesn't have a lot of interaction if you're stuck going second. You have your 2 copies of Mirror Force for our Mirror Force Dragon plays. Dogmatic of Punishment is really good for destroying things, and Trap Trick is there to just search out really whatever you need, as well as Lord of the Heavenly Prison kind of doing the same thing. So that's kind of a sneak peek of what the main deck looks like for my next more finalized build of Lair Critias. So let's talk about the extra deck. This is a really silly idea that I had. Basically, I got a lot of comments asking what cards in the extra deck were vital and what cards didn't really matter. And the answer to that question was really just Doom Virus, Mirror Force, your Super Poly package, as well as Verte, right? Instead of filling the deck with like really good cards, I had this idea of making it more of a Super Poly tribal extra deck. So that's why you see stuff like the Dragonmaid cards, as well as like this Tyrant Dragon and Dragon Necro for zombie matchups, Earth Golem for Link matchups. Like, it was a really silly idea. It does work out sometimes, but you totally don't have to do that. That said, guarantee you the Dragon player is not expecting you to fuse their 2 Dragonmaids in Dragonmaid Shio. Like, that is one of the funniest things I've done. If you didn't want to play this ridiculous Super Poly Tribal, you can just go down like all of these cards, and then you have literally 5 spaces of the extra deck left to fill. Some cards you could replace it with would be just generic staples, kind of like IP Masquerena, Unicorn, up to Access Code. If you wanted a rank 3 Xyz monster when you use Tour Guide into Scarm on turn 1, then you could play your Wind Up Zenmains, because it has some self-protection, might help you get to another turn. And another card I've been trying out is the Dark Charmer Link monster. Basically, the idea in my head is that if your opponent goes into DPE or one of these really strong dark monsters, dark is a very common attribute in the meta and just in general. You could go into your Dark Charmer and then steal their monster. Maybe it would work, I don't know. And it's only a super rare out of the most recent set, so I think it's worth a shot. I've been messing around with it. Obviously, Verte is the most important card in the extra deck. But that is going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, you know, do the YouTube stuff. I will see you guys next time, and I hope you have a great day, and God bless.